Most music isn't meant to make you uncomfortable. It's made to sell, to vibe to, and just to forget about life for a few moments. But some songs aren't made for that. They would dig into things that most mainstream stars wouldn't even dare to. Grief, trauma, and mental collapse. And some of them would go much further, taking inspirations from real-life tragedies. The rules of this iceberg are quite simple. The song itself doesn't need to be explicit or gory, or we would have a chart solely based on metal songs. And because of that, I included different genres and different styles. We would start with popular songs with hidden darker meanings, and slowly descend into tracks inspired by horrific real-life events. For each one, I'll try to introduce you to the band, the song, and the story behind it, so you can decide for yourself just how disturbing it really is. I'm Snorky, and this isn't just another chart. This is the most disturbing songs iceberg chart explained. So let's begin. Bullet by Hollywood Undead. Hollywood Undead is probably a band that many don't know about, and I don't want to consider them mainstream, but they have built a dedicated fanbase over the years, and I was one of them. Their discography holds more than a few interesting surprises. Formed in Los Angeles in 2005, Hollywood Undead is a rap rock band known for blending party anthems, but they also dive into surprisingly dark and emotional themes. Our first entry takes us back to 2011, where Hollywood Undead released their album called American Tragedy, and buried within that album is a track called Bullet, a song that at first glance seems very cheerful. It opens up with acoustic guitar, playful whistling, and an overall vibe that feels perfect for singing around a campfire. But don't be fooled, this isn't a light-hearted song. In fact, it may be one of their darkest songs. Bullet is written from a perspective from somebody that has given up on life, and it's written like a goodbye letter. Starting with the lines, "My legs are dangling off the edge, the bottom of the bottle is my only friend, a stomach full of pills didn't work again, I'll put a bullet in my head and I'm gone, gone, gone." It symbolizes someone who is slowly giving up, and the song continues. It escalates in vivid description of SH and fails attempt to end it, and I hope this aligns with YouTube guidelines because I need to describe this part of the song so you know why the song is disturbing. As the song continues, even the official lyrics video is styled like a letter being read out loud. The second verse brings us to a rooftop when the narrator sits drunk and simply thinks about jumping off. I polish off the bottle and now it's pushing me off. Asphalt to me never looked so soft. I bet my mama found my letter, now she's calling the cops. I gotta take this opportunity before I miss it, cause now I hear the sirens and they're off in the distance. Meanwhile, the melody never changes. It's upbeat, it's light, it's bouncy. What disturbs me is the contrast between the song and the lyrics. But the outro is something else entirely, and it ends with whistling, followed by a childlike voice softly singing. I wish that I could fly, way up in the sky, like a bird so high, oh, I might just try. And just like that, it ends like nothing's wrong. It can symbolize someone's desperate hope for escape, for freedom, for peace. This is the first entry in the iceberg, because from here on, things only get darker. Every breath you take, The Police. A simple science project here. If you know about this song, please leave a comment and tell me what is the song about. Now, The Police was a British rock band formed in 1977, known for blending new wave, punk and reggae rock. Fronted by Sting, the group quickly became one of the biggest rock bands in the 70s and 80s. And the chance of you not hearing about their hit With Every Breath You Take is quite impossible, as it's often featured on the radio. But why is this song on the list? Because many people fail to recognize about what this song is truly about. On the surface, it's a smooth, moody love ballad, but at a better look you will realize that this is the creep anthem because it's about surveillance, obsession and control. You heard me right, because this song is about stalking. Every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. Oh, can't you see you belong to me? This isn't romantic at all. To prove this, Sting even said he was creeped out by how many people think that this is a love song. People misinterpret it as a gentle little love song when it's about the obsession of a lost lover and the jealousy that comes with it. And I love how people use this song at their weddings, and it's basically misunderstood across decades. Possibly the most accidental creep hit of all time.
Wake, and yet it has something about it that people respond to. And that it seems at first like a very romantic, kind of seductive song, which is what I initially intended it to be. But then when you listen to it, you realize there's a compulsion behind it, to the point of obsession where it becomes quite sinister.
Pumped Up Kicks fostered the people. At first I was not sure to include this song or not because it's somewhat beaten to death online and many people know about the meaning about this song. But despite that, I still wanted to include it on the chart, just because of the fact how disturbingly cheerful this song is, considering its lyrics. But if you know the fact that the singer was actually a jingle writer, it quickly explains how this song was turned into a catchy, radio-friendly track. The band never expected the song to be a hit, let alone a cultural movement, but it did. It sits at 1.1 billion views on YouTube. Foster the People is an American indie pop band formed in Los Angeles, California in 2009. And the song goes like this. Robert's got a quick hand. He looks around his room. He won't tell you his plan. He found a 6-shooter gun in his dad's closet with a box of fun things. If you never paid attention to the lyrics, you're now realizing that the song is actually about school shootings. All the other kids with the pumped up kicks. You better run, outrun. You better run, faster than my bullets. While making a video about Randy Stair, I stumbled upon a clip where he was singing this song just a few months prior to a very horrible event he did. And this song and that clip left me a mental scar because of it, making this track even hard to listen to. Pumped Up Kicks is a fictional story, but it's still grounded in a very real social issues: youth alienation, gun violence, and untreated mental illness. It isn't based on a certain case. As Mark Forster stated, he created this song just to raise awareness and not to romanticize the violence behind it.
But also about you know, art itself and where the line is, what should be edited and what shouldn't be edited, and you know, and I feel like, you know, in terms of pushing the envelope of culture and forcing people to have those conversations, I think that it was you know, a really healthy thing for my country.
Today by the Smashing Pumpkins. Today is quite a special and lovely song by the American alternative rock band The Smashing Pumpkins, written by the lead vocalist and guitarist Billy Corgan, and the song was part of their 1993 album Siamese Dream. I would say they are quite a popular band and they were formed way back in 1988 in Chicago. They're also known for fusing genres like dream pop, grunge, shoegaze and alt rock. Often their songs would explore themes like mental illness, trauma, isolation and nostalgia. On the surface, today sounds hopeful with a nostalgic tone to it. Bright distorted guitars, classic 90s rock with a flat vocal which adds a contrast to the lyrics. It starts with "Today is the greatest day I ever known," followed by "I wanted more than life could ever grant me, bored by the chore of saving face." And now we are going to a part where the song has a slightly darker shift to it. "Today is the greatest day I ever known. Can't wait for tomorrow. I might not have that long. I'll tear my heart out before I go out." Later it was revealed that this song was written when Billy was in a very dark place. He was plagued by a writer's blockade and simply didn't feel like living anymore. So this song is the result of his 8 months of struggle. Is this song a weak pick for the first entry? Let me know in the comments. But when I listen to it closely, it just gives me a very weird feeling. It's like, why today is the greatest day ever? Maybe it's not because something amazing happened, but because nothing bad did. And for some people, that's all it takes to call a day great. When your everyday feels like a constant struggle, that one day that nothing goes wrong, it truly feels like the greatest day you ever had. I hope this makes sense and you know where I'm coming from. Also, the article site Blender described this song as an achievement of a remarkable status as one of the most defining songs of its generation, perfectly mirroring the fractured alienation of American youth in the 1990s. Dead Skin Mask by Slayer. Slayer is part of the big four of thrash metal, right up there with Metallica, Megadeth and Anthrax. They are formed in California back in 1981 and they've been known ever since for their fast, aggressive sound and extremely controversial themes. So it's not a surprise that something from the discography would land on this Iceberg chart. So let me take you back to 1990, where Slayer released their critically acclaimed album Seasons in the Abyss. Buried in that album is a track called Dead Skin Mask. It is inspired by one of the most deranged figures in American crime history, Ed Gein. And if you're into horror movies, you probably know many movies that are based on him. Some of them are Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs, Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Norman Bates in Psycho. He wasn't just a murderer, he was also a grave robber who would use people's skins to make furniture and leather masks. And he was frequently seen at night dancing with those masks on, and he also had the dress of his deceased mother. So, yeah, kind of disturbing. Dead Skin Mask stands out in Slayer's catalog because of how slow and eerie the song sounds compared to the usual speed-driven thrash songs. It opens up with a haunting, palm-muted guitar riff. Just a second.
A few moments later.
So after editing video I saw that my noise cancellation program has cancelled my guitar riff. The intro is almost like a twisted invitation. How I waited for you to come. I've been here all along. Now that you arrived, please stay a while. And I promise I won't keep you long. I'll keep you forever. From there, Tom Araya delivers the vocal in a low, restrained tone which only adds to the unease. He's not yelling, he's more like whispering to you. Dance with the dead in my dreams. Listen to their hollow screams. The dead have taken my soul. Temptations lost all control. And this line hits so hard. In the depths of a mind insane, fantasy and reality are the same. That's such a powerful reflection of how killers like Gein blur the line between the imagination and real life. To them, that's simply how things are. He wasn't just violent, he was detached from reality. But this was normal to him and perhaps acceptable. As disturbing as the lyrics are, the outro somewhat takes it even further, shifting to the voice of a child. You are hearing a young child pleading to be let out, calling Mr. Gein again and again, saying, "I don't wanna play anymore. This isn't fun and let me out." It's surreal and horrifying, not because of the gore, but how quiet and helpless it feels. Like you're trapped in Gein's house and who knows, perhaps you're next. Mention Slayer in the next video. Done.
Art can be a reflection of society, but evil's everywhere, man. Everybody's got it. It sits really deep in everybody. Some people can't control it as much as others, but I think it's there.
Terra by Taylor the Creator. So this song was somewhat of a fan favorite pick online. Taylor burst on the underground hip hop scene in the early 2000s. He started to work on this album when he was only 17, using a program called GarageBand on his computer, and I also need to note that he's often considered as a shock rapper. That's why we're looking at his track called Sarah. While researching about Disturbing Songs, one name that would frequently pop up because of its brutality and lyrical themes was Taylor the Creator. He created this song for his album The Bastard in 2009. It's often regarded as one of the most disturbing songs in his whole library, but is it the most disturbing song on this list? Well, definitely not. But it's a song that is built around Taylor's feeling for a girl he loves deeply, but there is a painful twist to it. She doesn't love him back, and the song is about how over time this evolves into a very unhealthy obsession to the point with no return. The song itself, it's minimalistic, it has that low-fi alternative hip-hop vibe to it, and the song simply starts out by Taylor asking his crush to a prom date. But Sarah would reject him, telling him that she already has a prom date and before you know, things would go south. Half your body lying on my chest, the rest is in my stomach, that's including your breast. I'm just taking another guess. Now you're probably wishing that you would have said yes. So Taylor decides to kidnap this poor girl, cut in 2 pieces, and eat one half and have you know what with the other half. Also, there is a prequel and a sequel to this song if you don't get enough of this one. The end of the song is basically Taylor ending it all to avoid jail and ends up lying next to Sarah. And also one thing that put me off the song and I couldn't take it any seriously, it's when Taylor compared her breasts with Jello. But again, he was only 17 when he made this track, and why would somebody so young make such a disturbing song is beyond me. But again, it's probably because of the shock value, because this song is only fiction, and because people would frequently mention this song while I was researching disturbing songs, I decided to put it on the list. So let's move to the next entry. Adam's Song by Blink-182. Adam's Song is a track that is very dear to my heart, and it's connected with a very tragic case. The song was recorded by the American alternative punk rock band Blink-182 for their 3rd studio album Enema of the State in 1999. Blink is a California trio formed in the early 90s, best known for the hits like All the Small Things, What's My Age Again, and First Date. The band was often seen as the poster boys of skate culture and immaturity. Their early songs were a chaotic mix of juvenile humor, teen rebellion and skate punk energy, but there is also one other side to the band. Adam's Song was primarily written by bassist/vocalist Marcus Hoppus, and the song almost didn't end up in the album at all because Mark thought it to be too disturbing. But his band members disagree with him. At the time, Mark was struggling with loneliness and depression from being constantly on tour, isolated from friends and family. What would give him even more frustrations was how his bandmates have significant others to return home to, and he was single. The song would start slow with clean guitar riffs, and as Mark starts to sing, it almost feels like he is singing from a perspective for someone who is trying to be okay, but he is clearly not. The song is written like a goodbye letter. I never thought I'd die alone. I laughed the loudest, who would know. I traced the cord back to the wall. No wonder it was never plugged at all. I took my time. I hurried up. The choice was mine. I didn't think enough. I'm too depressed to go on. You'll be sorry when I'm gone. The song hits quite hard and it quickly became one of the most popular songs in their library. And despite their goofy ways, this song portrayed the band in a completely new light. And it's a sad song about somebody who is standing on the edge. And one line that I need to include is, "Please tell mom this is not her fault." This line is the voice of somebody who's already given up, but he's still thinking about how devastated his mom will be. It's such a simple quote, but it hits quite hard. Also, I need to add that this song was not trying to support or glorify this act, but the song still caused controversy in 2000 when it was set on a replay indefinitely on a nearby stereo as a 17-year-old Greg Barnes, a teenager who attended Columbine High School, had lost one of his best friends in an event prior this year. Because he was devastated by the loss of his friend, he decided to himself. Mark later stated in an MTV interview in 2001,
You know, it felt awful. I mean, the things that kid has had to go through in his life is just, you know, very saddening. And then for him to end it that way is just really depressing. But Adam's Song, at the heart of the song, is, you know, about having hard times in your life, being depressed and going through a difficult period, but then finding strength to go on and finding, you know, a better place on the other side.
Never See Me Again by Kanye West. I don't know how Kanye West is keep getting on my lists, but he simply does. So what's the reason behind today's entry? Well, there is a less known fact about him that some don't know. Because the track Never See Me Again isn't a commercial release. It was leaked online but never officially acknowledged in the album. And yet, for those who have heard it, it stands out as one of the most chilling songs in Kanye's library. To understand this song, we need to go back to 2009, where, first of all, his mother Donda has passed away and Kanye was completely shattered. Which is kind of expected when something like this happens in your life. Plus, shortly after, there was that infamous incident with Taylor Swift, in which he grabbed the mic from Taylor and stated how Beyoncé should win the best female video. And just overnight, everybody hated Kanye. He was bashed from all sides, from the press, fans, and the media outlets. He then simply fled the US and spent time away from cameras and the chaos. During this period, Kanye was in complete isolation, and that's when Never See Me Again was allegedly recorded. His voice felt distant and a bit broken, and the lyrics, if they are believed, are again written as a goodbye letter. I'm not gonna ever be see again, I'm not gonna ever be me again. He talks about erasing himself, disappearing, and completely giving up. It's almost like he's saying goodbye. I can't confirm it if this was true or not, but he was definitely on the edge at the time. But how the song is produced plus the backing vocals doesn't sound like something you would write without anyone knowing it. But what do you think?
And I feel a heightened connection with the universe when I'm ramping up. It is a health issue. This is like a sprained brain, like having a sprained ankle. And if someone has a sprained ankle, you're not gonna push on him more.
Right.
With us, once our brain gets to a point of...
Him by Eminem. Eminem rose to the fame in the 90s as a white rapper from Detroit, who stunned the world with his lyrical speed, skill, but also shock value, and everybody knows that Eminem loves to be over the top. And that's all the introduction you get about Eminem, because everybody knows who he is. So I want to go straight to his track that was released on his album The Slim Shady LP in 1999. Although many of the lyrics on the album are considered to be satirical, Eminem would also discuss his frustrations with poverty, but also other things that bother him in his life, like his turbulent relationship with Kim Scott, his then wife and the mother of his daughter Hailey. If you ever dig into his library, you probably know that Kim stands out as one of the most disturbing pieces in his library. The song is about how Kim wanted to leave him. Eminem would then spiral into screaming, crying and manipulation, begging her not to leave. Why would you always make me shout at you? How could you just leave me and love him out of the blue? Oh, what's matter, Kim? Am I too loud for you? This quickly escalates and Eminem completely loses it and becomes even aggressive. Eminem would also use his voice to portray the begging and the screaming of Kim, and he goes quite in detail about his violent tendencies. I would go more in depth for this part, but again, the lyrics are just too explicit for YouTube. Eminem has said that writing Kim was a form of therapy, a way to channel his rage into art instead of acting on it. In an interview he said, "I wrote it when I was really mad. It's just the way I felt at the time. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but I wasn't in a good place." Dark Places by Juice WRLD. Dark Place is a song that gives me the chills. Some songs are disturbing because they are diving into disturbing topics, but other ones are disturbing because they reveal someone's deepest and darkest thoughts. And Dark Place by Juice WRLD is just that. Juice WRLD is considered as a genre-blending rapper, singer and a songwriter from Chicago, who rose to fame in the late 2000s with his emotionally raw melodic style. His music dealt heavily with themes like heartbreak, mental health struggles, addiction and existential dread, resonating with a whole generation who is also going through those things. He blew up with his hits like Lucid Dreams and All Girls All the Same, but there is a song that stands out in his library and one that was not released officially. This is a very raw track that was leaked online and it goes like this. Lost in a dark place, trapped in the crawl space, in my mind I get lost. Then I wake up in a coffin, they tell me they care, they're just in love with the music, so they never know about the pain I'm going through. This song is filled with so much sorrow and depth, it's hard to describe. There is also no flash production, no hooks, no beat drops. It was just a simple and plain melody. Juice would continue with, "This is my heart, watch as my problems inspire me. Tear me apart, won't let the demons take over me. They took it too far, now I need surgery. I'm falling apart. The song itself is almost like a diary entry. It feels raw, emotional and very personal. He talks about fame and how empty his life is besides all of the fans he's got. You can hear the weight of his demons chasing him in every line. Looking back now, it's heartbreaking. We know it wouldn't be long after this that 𝙀𝙘𝙚 passed away. Like I said, the song was never officially released and it was leaked after his death, giving fans a chilling glimpse into his pain that he was suffering behind the spotlight. Tragically, he passed away at the age of 21 in December of 2019. After suffering a seizure at the Chicago Midway airport, and the result was because he OD'd. Despite his short life, 𝙀𝙘𝙚 left behind an enormous vault of unreleased music and legacy as one of the most emotionally honest artists in modern hip-hop. 𝙀𝙀𝙚 was a person who openly talked about his mental struggles. He suffered from depression, addiction, and the pressure of being voice of a generation who is lost, just like him. In interviews he admitted he was scared and how he wanted to quit drugs. And this song almost feels like a warning from someone who is already gone.
My message to the youth is to be strong no matter what you're going through. If you need help, seek help. Whether if you want a professional help, seek help and surround yourself with people that'll help you, that'll listen to you, that got your best interest.
𝙀𝙘𝙚 by Alice in Chains. We chase misprinted lies, we face the path of time, and yet I fight, and yet I fight. This battle all alone, no one to cry to, no place to call home. The stunting lyrics are singing in a soulful voice, accompanied with slow acoustic guitars. Time is a fate that we can't escape and we can fight it all we want. But it helps us heal and it's something that reminds us of our mortality. But family and friends reminds us that we are not alone and that there are things worth fighting for. But when you're left alone, things can get quite bitter fast, as simply no place feels like home. Few songs capture existential loneliness as quietly and devastating like 𝙀𝙀𝙚. Released in 1994 on the Jar of Flies EP, Alice in Chains was already known for exploring addiction, depression and mortality in their music. But 𝙀𝙀𝙚 is something completely different. It's not angry and nobody's screaming at you. It's a very fragile song that reminds us that we are still human. Lead single Layne Staley wrote these lyrics, and while he never gave an official breakdown, it doesn't take much to see the pain in every word. The song feels like a letter for somebody that already knows he's not gonna make it out alive. Looking at the 1996 MTV Unplugged video of this song, it feels like he's saying goodbye. Layne suffered many years from substance abuse and depression, which spiraled even harder when his fiancée died because of an OD. He wouldn't leave his condo and cut off most of the contact with the outside world, including his friends and family. He died on April 5th, 2002, which is the exact same day that Kurt Cobain died just 8 years prior. He was 34 at the time and his body wasn't discovered 2 weeks later after his accountants noticed no money has been withdrawn from his bank account. He weighed just 86 pounds or 39 kilograms at the time of his death. His members said, "In a nutshell, he told us everything, we just didn't know it yet."
Just writing about things, feelings, you know, not that we're dark or depressed, but just, just as much as anyone else is, you know. Other bands choose to write about things they don't shit about, like babes and cars, you know. We write about ourselves because we know about ourselves. We don't know, I'm not, you know, any authority to write on.
Hamburger Lady by Throbbing Gristle. Throbbing Gristle, after being featured on my Disturbing album covers chart, made a comeback for all the wrong reasons. This is a song where the lyrics are non-existent and the song is very unconventional, so to say. It was released in 1978 and Throbbing Gristle is considered one of the most extreme industrial music groups. The track is based on a medical report written by a doctor describing the condition of a severely burned person. The nickname Hamburger Lady was given because of the way how her skin was burnt off, saying it resembled ground meat hamburgers. The band's frontman Genesis reportedly read the letter aloud during the song's recording. The lyrics are not poetic or metaphorical, they are clinical, cold and unfiltered. Some of the lyrics are: the hamburger lady burns, burn from the waist up, all the skin is burnt off, her eyes are semi-melted. The song tries to put you in a trance-like state where you're hearing the echoing sounds of sirens and nurses. The result is a nightmarish soundscape, something that doesn't resemble a normal song, and it's more like being trapped in a fever dream. But the band was never interested in accessibility, and some consider Hamburger Lady arguably their most terrifying experiment. It tries to confront the listener to real suffering, removed from the sanitizing filter of melody or metaphors. But the song is not based on a real event, it is based on a poem by Plaster L. Ackerman.
And we were sort of trying to reflect all these sounds and the way they all come together into like this weird mishmash of electronic experimental textures.
Living Monstrosity by Death. Can we really have a chart about disturbing songs without having a few metal songs on the list? And we can always make a chart only about metal songs. But after buying a vinyl from Death and digging through their library, I found a few songs that could end up on this chart, and Living Monstrosity was my choice. It's a song that is structured around modern day problems we have today. By 1990, Death was already pushing the boundaries of extreme metal, and their album Spiritual Healing took things even further, not just in brutality but in the subject matter. The opening track, Living Monstrosity, it's not disturbing because of the gore, but because it describes a real-life tragedy. Every day blows by in a world of corrupt addiction. With life comes pain, withdrawals and deformations, breaking the mold of human appearance, contorting body's chemical interference. So this song is about children who are born with deformities because their mothers would use stuff during the pregnancy. Death's frontman and songwriter Chuck Goldiner was known for tackling topics that most metal bands wouldn't touch. Instead of writing about demons and Satan, Chuck wrote about human suffering, modern-day problems such like this, and psychological torment. This is the way how Death stands out in the metal space. It's a hard-hitting song, it's frantic, technical and chaotic, giving it the perfect tone to tell the story. Born without eyes, hands and half of a brain. Being born addicted to cocaine, a living monstrosity. Freak for a life they always be, never knowing love or hate, only the pain the drug creates. It's a raw song that doesn't dance around the topic, trying to present you in some other light so you come to the conclusion. The song is direct and brutally honest. Maybe too honest for some, but what makes this song so disturbing is it doesn't let you look away from the crisis that is easy to ignore. Living Monstrosity condemns the self-destruction of addiction and its consequences. One by Metallica. Does Metallica have better songs on their discography? Definitely, but this is the one song that always leaves me emotionally drained after listening to it. So the reason why this song hits even harder is because I was born in a war, at least at the end of one, and growing up with the aftermath and all the disturbing stories around it are just giving this song one more unsettling layer that I don't need actually. But it is how it is. Metallica is like Slayer, one of the big fours when it comes to thrash metal. Formed in 1981 in Los Angeles, Metallica was a brainchild of James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. From the beginning, Metallica wasn't about glam, makeup or radio singles, and that's what made them so famous. James stated, "We are not a band that write about chicks and fast cars, we write about death, war and mental destruction. Things that feel real." And just like that, the most disturbing anti-war song was written. One is an absolute classic and it was released on their album in 1998, And Justice for All. The song marked a turning point in the band's songwriting, and it starts very eerie as it simply begins with the sounds of a battlefield. and it slowly evolves into a riff that is progressively evolving until we go to the lyrics. I can't remember anything, can't tell if this is true or a dream. Now that the voice is through with me, I'm waking up, I cannot see. That there is not much left of me, nothing is real but pain now. The song is inspired by Dalton Trumbo's novel Johnny Got His Gun from 1939. The song tells the story of a soldier who is blown apart by a landmine. In Pump's life that I must feel, but I can't look forward to reveal. I look to the time when I alive, feed through the tube that sticks in me. It tells the story of how a soldier was still alive, but he lost his arms, legs, sight, hearing and ability to speak. But he is completely conscious and still trapped in his body, fed by machines to keep him alive. And then slowly a breakdown is coming and James starts to sing while the drums are mimicking machines. Darkness imprisoning me, all that I can see, absolute horror. I cannot live, I cannot die, trapped in myself, body my holding cell. This song isn't explicit or gory, but it's unbearably hard to listen to. Especially if you look at the spot of this song, you will see how the soldier is trying to do Morse code tapping, which decoded is simply kill me over and over again, just showing his inner state. Hold my breath as I wish for death, oh God, please wake me. Even if this song is very well known, it's still disturbing and it deserves a place on this chart.
For some reason I connected with that, like being stuck in your own skin and how uncomfortable that can feel. And that would be like the ultimate hell, where you can't communicate to anybody.
Daddy by Korn. When it comes to disturbing song, I think layer 4 needs to start with Korn's song Daddy. It's emotionally devastating, raw and it's very personal. It doesn't rely on shock value, it just delves into the story of Jonathan Davis and lets you watch his trauma pour in real time. Korn was already known for their dark and aggressive sound, blending down-tuned guitars with hip-hop influenced rhythms, but Daddy stands in a category of its own. It's the last track on their self-debut album from 1994. Daddy is so much more than a simple song. Mother, please forgive me. I just had to get out my pain and suffering. Now that I'm done, remember, I always love you, I'm your son. The song tells a story how Davis was molested by a close family friend when he was only 12 years old. The pain is made even worse by the fact that his parents didn't believe him when he tried to tell them. Davis explained that this felt like betrayal from those who are supposed to protect you. Musically, the song starts strangely calm, eerie vocals, a creeping bass line and lyrics that are more like a diary entry than a verse. But then this calm mask falls off and everything shifts quite hard. A little child looking so pretty, come out and play, I'll be your daddy. Innocent child looking so sweet, I'll mind, and now your flesh I reap. The lyrics take the perspective of the abuser and the music becomes more violent and aggressive. Guitars begin to crash, Davis' voice grows harsher, and you're left with quite a sight to behold. It hurt as a child, tied down, that's a good boy. I scream, no one hears me, I'll hurt, I'm not a liar. Again, sorry about the censoring, but that's how things are on YouTube, and if you want to see the uncensored versions, which are also 18+, they are on my Patreon or YouTube membership. Okay, let's continue. Sorry about that, guys. It's painfully hard to listen to this song, as Davis is pouring his emotions into the song. The final 3 minutes of the song Daddy is just Davis's breakdown. He's emotionally devastated, he's crying, sobbing and grasping for air, screaming uncontrollably. Why? The producer Rock Robinson let the tape roll. No one stopped him. No one said that's enough, because it wasn't a performance, it was real. Like I said in my video about Daddy, this isn't a song you could casually put on and listen to. It's so much more than a simple song, it's experience, and I would recommend you to check out that video if you're interested into the whole story.
It's not about my parents molesting me and any of that shit. It was about me being used by someone else and my parents not really believing me, which I believe happens to tons of kids. I believe tons of kids go back and say, hey mom, dad, this shit happened. They're like, stop fucking lying. Or they don't understand, and they were really young at the time, and I don't blame them. And it was my babysitter, and she's since on passed away. Karma's a bitch.
Zombie by the Cranberries. We are getting a bit political with this one. Zombie was written in response to a real-life tragedy during the Troubles, a violent political conflict in Northern Ireland that lasted from late 1960s to 1998. One of the most devastating attacks occurred on March 20 in 1993, where the two explosives were hidden into trash bins. When exploded in Warrington, England, the impact was so hard that it injured 56 people, but also 3-year-old Jonathan Ball and 12-year-old Tim Perry. Dolores was on a tour in England at the time and was deeply shaken by the event, especially as an Irish woman watching innocent lives being lost in the name of politic violence. She would wrote this song Zombie as a direct response because of her grief and anger, and it became one of the band's most powerful and politically charged songs. Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken, and the violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting. Released in 1994 on the second album, No Need to Argue, Zombie was nothing like their usual soft melodic tracks. This time they just wanted to show the world just how bad things were, and there was a reason for its intensity. Being Irish, it was quite hard. I remember being devastated about the innocent children being pulled into that kind of thing. The song continues with even more emotional weight. Another mother's breaking, heart is taking over. When the violence caused silence, we must be mistaken. It's the same old theme since 1916. In your head, they are still fighting. Even if the song began as an acoustic piece, Dolores later insisted that the song needs to be heavy and distorted, just to match her rage behind all of this. With this song she also pushed the band members out of their comfort zone, demanding that the sound needs to be loud and raw, because the violence that was happening wasn't subtle. When the tone was set, Dolores gave the performance of her life. It's a reminder of how conflicts between nations or political movements often hurt people who want no part in them. Innocent lives, especially children, are cut short because of ideologies they never chose. As she later said, it doesn't have anything to do with us. We're not political, but it was our way to express something. That's how we process grief. Zombie stirred up controversy at the time. Some accused the band of taking sides, but for many it became a powerful, angry cry against all form of violence, especially when it steals the lives of those who just wanted to live.
I always kind of liked harder rock bands, but then perhaps I took the band too much in that direction, because it was all, you know, let's do some metal. No, I was like, I always liked the harder stuff, and I think that we went a bit too hard, alright, for a while then.
Yeah, but
we got it out of
at the time, Zombie was the right thing. I definitely, you know.
And you got all of that kind of anger and stuff out of your system.
Polly by Nirvana. It amazes me how people can take something so dark and sing it like it's nothing. Polly may now be the turning point on this chart, where we slowly start to get into really disturbing stuff. Unlike most of Nirvana's library, Polly is quiet and deeply unsettling. If you don't know about Nirvana, they weren't just a band, they were like a cultural moment at the time. Formed in Washington in the late 80s, they exploded into the mainstream with their album Nevermind in 1991, bringing grunge and raw emotions to the front of rock music. Led by the deeply introspective and troubled Kurt Cobain, Nirvana gave a voice to a whole generation, some would say. They would tackle heavy themes, and they were also loud and messy, and sometimes quiet. And when they were quiet, songs like Polly would emerge. For this track, they ditched the distorted guitars and stripped back to an acoustic performance. It's a slow and haunting song with crippling vocals delivered by Kurt Cobain. The lyrics open with "Polly wants a cracker, I think I should get off her first, I think she wants some water to put out the blowtorch." These lyrics perhaps sound a bit cryptic now, but I will explain what's the inspiration behind this song. Kurt wrote Polly after reading about the 1987 abduction of a 14-year-old girl in Tacoma, Washington. She was kidnapped after going on a punk rock concert and she was held captive in a trailer, where a very messed up guy did ungodly things to her, which involved a blowtorch. Incredibly, she managed to escape by gaining his trust, a story that struck with Kurt. His addition to the story was to imagine that the victim tricked the attacker into thinking she was actually enjoying it, causing him to let his guard down. Polly wants a cracker is also a face you would tell to your birth pet, and the kidnapper in this song doesn't see her as a person but merely as a pet or an object to take advantage of. Polly wants a cracker becomes a way of reducing her to something simple and submissive, a thing rather than a human being. Kurt made it clear that he had no intention of glorifying the attacker. "I was trying to write a song from a different angle. It's not supposed to be fun." He wasn't trying to shock people, he was trying to expose something ugly. He was disturbed by this real case, and ironically, many people didn't get this song. They would sing this song without understanding the context. It became background noise in coffee shops and completely misunderstanding the song, and this is a thing that made Kurt quite sick.
I'm pissed off about everything in general, and so all these songs are pretty much about my battle with things that piss me off, and that's just the whole theme of the whole album.
Evil by Interpol. Before we dive into this song, can we all just agree on something? This puppet is pure nightmare fuel, and honestly it deserves its own entry. Interpol is an American band formed in New York City in 1997. Their sound is moody, cold and emotionally distant, some would say, with cryptic lyrics, haunting bass lines and vocals that feel detached yet quite intense. Now let's look at their second album Antics and their eerily hypnotic track Buried in There called Evil. It's a very interesting piece of music that managed to peak at number 18 on the UK single charts and number 24 on Billboard magazine's Modern Rock Tracks chart. At first the song is very catchy with almost danceable bassline to it, but the lyrics pull you into something else entirely, something darker, something broken we could say. Rosemary, heaven restores you in your life, you're coming with me, through the aging, the fearing, the strife. It's something on the package, it's the face in the sand. These fragmented lies give you small clues, some would say it's about death, guilt, obsession and maybe even worse things. Paul Banks, the band's vocalist, delivers them in a voice that feels haunted but weirdly calm, and that's what makes it unsettling. You're not told what's really happening, you just feel that something is very wrong. Some listeners believe that Rosemary in the song refers to Rosemary and her husband Fred West, one of the most infamous serial killers in UK history. The things they did I can't explain, I can only tell you it involved 12 young girls and boys. They would also bury their bodies underneath their home at 25 Cromwell Street, later dubbed as House of Horrors. Interpol has never confirmed this interpretation, but the name Rosemary, the unsettling tone and the lines like "Did you marry for the money, did you marry me for love" had made this theory a lasting part of this song's lore, and while researching this song I also researched the case itself and I quickly realized why it's the most infamous case in whole UK. The music video for Evil follows the same fashion and it only adds to the discomfort. It doesn't literally follow the lyrics, but it shows you in a very unsettling case about the incident and where the puppet is in a hospital. And at the center of all of this is this hyper-realistic puppet named Norman. He was badly injured in a car crash, lying there with glass eyes, bloody clothes and eerily human movements. It's like the trauma is playing out in front of you, but it's very hard to describe. I would definitely advise you to check out this song after this video and let me know what you think about this real song. Hey man, nice shot. Filter. I wish I would met you. Now it's a little late. What you would taught me, I could save some face. They think that your early ending was all wrong. For the most part, they were right. Filter is an American industrial rock / alternative metal band formed in 1993 by Richard Petrie, who just left his part as a touring guitarist for 9 Inch Nails. So it was not a surprise he would create a band that was equally gritty and raw in their musical direction. Their breakout song Hey Man Nice Shot is often considered as a fictional story, but it's based on a true event. And I need to make a small correction here because of my previous videos about disturbing album covers, where I also to some degree mentioned this. Because this song and the album cover for the band 𝙀𝙭𝙧𝙦 are both tied to the same event, and I failed to mention that in the previous video. I only commented how the album cover was disturbing, but I sadly didn't say it was inspired by a gruesome moment that actually happened on January 22, 1987. That was the day where 𝙄𝙘𝙚𝙗𝙚𝙧𝙗, the Pennsylvania state treasurer, held a press conference. He had been convicted on bribery charges, though many still believed he was unfairly targeted and many believe he was somewhat innocent. But I don't want to dive in that right now. But what many people did thought is that he would resign and make a simple commentary about the whole situation. Instead, he read some papers, shared around some envelopes, and then pulled out a magnum out of an envelope and simply said, "I don't want to hurt anyone. Please leave the room if this will offend you." And just a second later he would use that thing on himself in front of all journalists, TV cameras and their staff. Now the smoke's gone and the air is all clear. Those who were right there got a new kind of fear. You'd fight and you were right, but they were just too strong. They stick it in your face and let you smell what they consider wrong. Hey Man Nice Shot came out in 1995, almost a decade after the event. It didn't mention Dwyer by the name, but the lyrics are clearly inspired by that event. I mean, the chorus is "Hey Man Nice Shot." It's satirical and chilling, reflecting on how the media, public and all the politics have fed into this tragedy. From a musical standpoint, the song is very industrial and gritty, but also aggressive, with heavy guitars and a grooving bass line in the background. Vocals are also quite raw and distorted, perfectly combining the song's tone. In the end, the song stands as a harsh, unsettling reflection of one of the most infamous press conferences ever broadcast on live TV. The Way by Fastball. The Way is a classic 90s track, built on bright distorted guitars, calm vocals and one of the catchiest choruses of its era. It sounds like a perfect song to blast out in your car while driving around on a warm summer day. Not a care in the world, but that sunny, feel-good vibe. Well, I don't want to be the bringer of the bad news, but it's just a facade, because underneath all of it, The Way is based on a real story and it's far from cheerful. They made up their minds and they started packing. They left before the sun came up that day and exited to eternal summer slacking. But where were they going without ever knowing the way? If you didn't know, Fireball was an American rock band formed in 1994 in Austin, Texas. Their debut album, Make Your Mama Proud in 1996, leaned into melodic, Beatles-inspired pop mixed tunes with some alternative rock to it. But it was their second album, All the Pain Money Can Buy, released in 1998, was the album that put them on their map, thanks to The Way, which topped the Billboard's modern rock chart for 7 weeks and even earned 2 Grammy nominations. The song was inspired by an elderly couple from Texas. Layla and Raymond Howard left their home in June 1997 to attend an herbal festival. Both of them were in their 80s, with Layla suffering from Alzheimer's and Raymond recovering from brain surgery. Their family would beg them not to go, but they did it anyway. That day they dressed in nice Sunday clothes, stepped into the car and simply drove away. And they never returned, but after 2 weeks of searching around, the police would finally find them. Sadly, they found them at the bottom of a ravine in Arkansas. They had become lost, driven off the road and died in that terrible crash. Anyone can see the road that they walk on is paved in gold, and it's always summer. They never get cold, they never get hungry, they never get old and grey. Fastball's frontman Tony Salzo read about that story and was deeply moved by it, but instead of writing a sad ballad, he created a bittersweet fantasy, imagining the couple on a carefree road trip, leaving their worries behind. The song feels whimsical and nostalgic, but once you know about the truth about the song, the lyrics hit a bit differently. This isn't a song about freedom, it is a sad song about two elderly people that lost the grip with reality. And honestly, this song moved me more than I'd like to admit. And it's just a sad story about an elderly couple. But I hope they reach their final destination together and they are happy wherever they are right now.
They left before the sun came up that day. They just drove off and left it all behind them. But where were they going without ever knowing the way?
Christmas Kids by Roar. The first time I listened to this song, it felt quite harmless. It's a lo-fi indie track with really bouncy rhythms, retro synths and a soft, almost playful vocal by Owen Eames. But we have seen a few songs on this Iceberg chart that do sound quite cheerful, but they're clearly not, at least their backstory isn't. Beneath its catchy, dreamy melody lies a disturbing reference to a very real, very dark relationship, the one between legendary music producer Phil Spector and his wife Ronnie Spector, the lead singer of the Ronettes. Phil Spector was a musical genius, but behind the scenes he was also violent, manipulative and controlling. During the marriage, he would repeatedly lock his wife in his house and he would also take her shoes away so she can't run off. He even threatened her with a glass coffin, saying that if she ever tried to leave him, that's where she would end up. And the most disturbing part of all of this is how he adopted twins just to make her a Christmas present so that she doesn't leave him. Now, who in their right mind would give somebody a kid, let alone two of them? Christmas Kids takes this surreal and horrifying situation and filters it through metaphors. You're not told everything directly, but you get these subtle fragments, and it's enough to feel the manipulation, the fear and the deep emotional damage that's just buried underneath the surface. There is a line in these songs that will quite stick with you. Ronette, my dear, don't ever disappear. Do what you want as long as you stay here. It sounds sweet on paper, but when you know what it's really about, it feels suffocating, like the voice of someone who is obsessed with control. And there is also this line: the Christmas kids were nothing but a gift, and love is a tower where all of us can live. On its own, it does sound quite poetic, but considering the backstory of all of this, like I said, it's just disturbing. This track would also blow up on TikTok years after it was released, and suddenly the song was like everywhere. And it was even charted in Ireland and the UK, making the first time Raw get international recognition.
We were adopted into the family with the intention that we would keep her prolonged into the family. We were meant to be shackles for Ronnie, but it didn't work.
Louis Spector and his brother Gary are Phil Spector's adopted children. They once told Inside Edition the mansion was like a prison.
Go to school, come back from school, get locked up back in our room again until dinner, come back down, eat dinner, no talking, go back upstairs and locked up.
John Wayne Gacy Jr. by Sufjan Stevens. So remember Acid Bath and their album cover with John Wayne's clown on it, where here comes Steven with a whole song dedicated just about his life. And at first it doesn't sound like a song about a murderer. It's a soft song, we could even say fragile. Steven would sing over a delicate piano chords with a voice that is intimate. His father was a drinker and his mother cried in bed, folding John Wayne's t-shirts when the swing set in his head. Neighbors, they adored him for his humor and conversation. Look underneath the house there. So who is John Wayne Gacy and what's hidden beneath his home? John Wayne Gacy is an American serial killer, and he was convicted of and later executed for essay and killing of 33 boys and men. 27 of them were buried in his crawl space. This happened between 1972 and his arrest in 1978. He would entertain children in a clown suit and makeup. His crimes shocked the whole world when they were uncovered in 1978. The idea that somebody could be both smiling and a monster was the stuff of nightmares for many people. He was later executed by a lethal injection in 1994. He dressed up like a clown for them. with his face paint white and red, and on his best behavior in a dark room on the bed, he kills them all. I hate how this song is so chilling and calm, considering it's about John Wayne Gacy. And then the final verse hits, the part that changes everything. And in my best behavior, I'm really just like him. Look beneath the floorboards for the secrets I have hid. This line suggests that the horror isn't just about Gacy anymore, it's about you, the listener. It's not a literal confession or even a direct attack, it's just a metaphor, an idea that even the most ordinary person might be hiding something awful beneath the surface or their home. And did I say I hate this freaking song?
I killed 33 times. You're only gonna kill me once. Casey outsmarted him again.
Rammstein Mein Teil. This song just gives me the chills, and I'm so sorry if you don't know the backstory of this song. In 2001, Armin Muse, a computer technician from Germany, posted an online ad looking for something that you would never think it would be even possible. And the band Rammstein decided to make a song about it, of course. Rammstein is a German industrial metal band formed in Berlin in 1994. They are known worldwide for their explosive live shows, dark aesthetics, and lyrics that often tackle taboo, violent, or deeply provocative subjects. The band's sound is heavy, mechanical, but also theatrical. Their frontman, Till Lindemann, is legendary for giving always a great performance. The song Mein Teil is often described as mechanical, with pulsing beats, eerie ambient texture, and Till's deep deliberative vocals. And there is also a sense of dread in it. It opens with Heute treffe ich einen Herrn, der hat mich zu fressen gern. Weiche Teile und harte Teile stehen auf der Speisekarte. You see, Armin had a very unique wish. He wanted to be eaten by somebody alive. And I think I need to censor this. I wish I was kidding, but that's how Layer 5 starts, it's only getting more hinged. But the worst part of all of this is that somebody answered the ad. A man named Bernd Jürgen Brands. He met Muse in his home in Rothenburg, Germany, and they two proceed to castrate Brands, cook his woody together, and attempt to eat it while having a sip of wine. And Brandon was alive for hours after that, because he was given a mix of alcohol and painkillers. While he was in the bathtub, woodless, the guy would also read Lord of the Rings to him, if my memory serves me right. Later he decided he's done and didn't want to spoil the flesh and started to film the process so he can prepare him to be his next frozen meal, let's say. And please, if you didn't like this video until this part, please do, because there is a good chance that this video would once again get limited visibility, limited ad revenue, and I'm working on this video I think now for 3 or 4 weeks, so a like, subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And the most important part is that I don't want to skip the grisly details for you, because I want you to have the whole story about it, even if it's a bit censored. So once again, just a huge thanks. So let's continue. The guy was eventually arrested when somebody stumbled upon his online post, and this case became known as the Rothenburg, and it horrified the whole world. But not just because of the violence, but because the whole act was consensual. And I don't know, but the first time listening to this song, it was an absolute nightmare. It's freaking me out. Die Strophe klinge gut und recht, ich blute stark und mir ist schlecht. Muss ich mit der Ohnmacht kämpfen? Ich esse weiter unter Krämpfen. Ist doch so gut gewürzt und so schön flambiert und so liebenvoll auf Porzellan serviert. Dazu ein guter Wein und zarter Kerzenschein. I don't know what is more grotesque here. Also, to add, Lindemann's performance would also include him dressing up in a butcher costume while cooking a huge pot on the stage just to set you in the mood right. Mein Teil is more than just a shocking song. I mean, Rammstein did get over the top with the story and then leaned into the horror element a bit more, but I can't get a grasp of how something that insane would actually happen in the real world, and it simply reflects that something is very wrong with modern society. It's brutal, it's real, and that's all I can say about this song.
My name, Armin Meiwes, I was born 1961. I'm computer engineer from Rothenburg, Germany. I killed Flop and since then he is always with me. That's clear. It tastes like pork, a bit more harsh, substantial. That's clear. It tastes like pork, a bit more harsh, substantial.
Jeremy by Pearl Jam. Jeremy is a legendary song by the cult band Pearl Jam. The song was released on their album called 10 in 1991. After listening to the song, it's quite easy to get lost in its melody and tone, and especially the beautiful vocal range of Eddie Vedder. But after listening to the song one more time and actually paying attention to the lyrics, it turns this song into a very unsettling piece of music history, because this song refers to a real-life case that happened in January of 1991. Eddie wrote Jeremy after reading about it in the newspaper. Jeremy Dele was a 15-year-old student in Richardson, Texas, who one simple day just walked into his classroom, pulled a magnum and used him on himself in front of the teacher and his classmates. The article would also say that Jeremy was previously withdrawn and troubled. The article was quite short, just a few paragraphs. But Eddie couldn't stop thinking about it. He imagined what led up to that moment, how invincible Jerry might have felt, and how the world only noticed him after this was done. Some of the lyrics are: Daddy didn't give attention, and the boy was something that mommy wouldn't wear, or clearly I remember picking on the boy. It just suggests years of emotional neglect, bullying, and a deep internal pain that the boy felt until his final day. Over the time, the song is building up to a chorus that is the most haunting part of the whole song. Jeremy spoke in a class today, referring how Jeremy had been ignored for so long, and when he finally spoke, it was in a way to be heard. But there is also a second part to this story, based on a student that Vedder knew from his high school in San Diego, California. He would comment on that in a 1991 interview. I actually knew somebody in junior high school in San Diego, California who did the same thing. He just about didn't take his life but ended up shooting up an oceanography room. I remember being in the halls and hearing it, and I actually had altercations with this kid in the past. I was kind of a rebellious 5th grader, and I think we got into fights and stuff. So it's a bit about this kid named Jeremy, and it's also a bit about a kid named Brian that I knew and I don't know. The song, I think it says a lot. I think it goes somewhere, and a lot of people interpret it in different ways. It's just because recently that I've been talking about the true meaning behind it, and I hope no one's offended, and believe me, I think of Jeremy when I sing it. Dance with the Devil, Immortal Technique. There aren't many hip-hop songs that caught me off guard like this one. Dance with the Devil is a song by the American rapper Immortal Technique from his debut album called Revolutionary Volume 1, released in 2001 and produced by 44 Caliber. The story of the song is quite simple. It revolves around a young teenager who wanted to make it big. He wanted to become a real thug and attempts to gain the admiration of the other people in the game. This could be a very simple explanation of this song, but it gets much deeper and violent. And if you ever listen to this song, you know how devastating the end is. It's probably one of the darkest storytelling tracks in hip-hop history, and it's also quite unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. The track itself builds around the piano loops and minimal drums. The first part of the song tells the story of a young man named William. I once knew a guy whose real name was William. His primary concern was making $1 million, being the illest hustler that the world ever seen. The song is about a kid who grew up poor in the city and became obsessed with power and wealth. He had the hunger and the ambition to make some street cred, and his greed would grow so much that he would do anything under the sun just to make some money. The problem was that the other guys thought of him not as a real gangster, because everybody can sell stuff, but a gangster is somebody who can take somebody's life in cold blood. This is why William decided to prove himself to the other guys. They drew around the project slow, while it was raining, smoking blunts, drinking and joking for entertainment, until they saw a woman on the street walking alone. There, 3 in the morning, coming back from work, on her way home, and so they quietly get out of the car and followed her. Walking through the projects, the darkness swallowed her. They wrapped her shirt around her head and knocked her onto the floor. This is it, kid, now you got the chance to be raw. So Billy yoked her up and grabbed the chick by the hair and dragged her into a lobby that had nobody there. She struggled hard, but they forced her to go upstairs. They go to the rooftop and they held her down on the ground. In this part of the song, it's described how William and the other gang members would beat up this poor woman so hard that she can't move because they don't want her to move. And then can William prove himself how tough of a guy he is by doing an unthinkable thing before finishing her off. But then somebody turned the lights on, and in that moment William realized that that poor woman in front of him was his mom. Which is like, what the actual fuck. Yeah, William's greed and corruption drew him completely to the dark side. His corruption has successfully changed his fate, and he remembered how his mom used to come home late, working hard for nothing, cause now what was he worth? And the song ends with a quite hard and memorable line. When the devil wants to dance with you, you better say never, because the dance with the devil may last you forever. The song also ends by William completely shattered by his action and decided to jump off of a building. Immortal Technique has explained in interviews that this story is a symbol of what self-destruction, dehumanization, and the way violence corrupts from the inside out. Now, why is this disturbing/chilling story not deeper on the list? Well, the thing is, I can't prove it if it's real. Immortal Technique has addressed the meaning behind the song as well as the questions concerning the truth of this story on many occasions. In a 2012 interview, Technique stated in regards of this song, "The only thing I changed about the story was me being on the roof, and that he never actually raped a woman nor was complicit in that act."
To the building where this incident happened in Harlem. And the truth is that that actually did happen, and those people that were allegedly responsible for that began dying. And that's why it became such a powerful story, because everyone's like, oh, you're telling hood tales. What if these come back for you? And I said, let them. Right. What are they gonna do? Like, you think that the neighborhood is gonna protect them after they find out what they really did?
I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. After listening to this track, it sounds like a typical upbeat pop rock from the 70s, and somewhat fun in its delivery, but because we are at layer 5, you know that this song isn't lighthearted. Before I Don't Like Mondays shocked the world, the Boomtown Rats were a punk-turned new wave band from Ireland, formed in 1975. Led by the outspoken Bob Geldof, the band mixed raw punk energy with the art, rock and political bite of the late 70s. They were a part of the first wave of UK punk, alongside bands like The Clash and the Sex Pistols. But unlike those bands, the Boomtown Rats would often use pianos, pop structures and lyrics that tackled social commentary, media culture and emotional decay sometimes. The silicon chip inside her head gets switched to overload, and nobody's gonna go to school today. She's gonna make them stay at home, and Daddy doesn't understand it. He always said she was good as gold, and he can see no reasons, cause there were no reasons. What's the reason? Do you need to be shown? Quickly realize that this isn't a love song or a breakup anthem, it's a song about a very unsettling case, and based on a very real thing and tragic event. On Monday, January 29, 1979, a 16-year-old girl named Brenda Ann Spencer just opened fire from her father's rifle that she has given her for Christmas. She managed to kill 2 adults and injured 8 children and a police officer. When she asked why she did that, she gave a very simple answer: I don't like Mondays. This cold and emotional statement became the core of this whole song, and all the playing stopped in the playground now. She wants to play with the toys a while, and the school's out early and soon we'll be learning, and the lesson today is how to die. The lyrics never say her name, they don't glorify her or focus on the gore. Instead it's a bit mechanical or like empty. It feels like somehow the violence is just routine. The silicon chip also is a metaphor that gives it a bit of surreal and dystopian vibe, like she's just another product of a broken system. And it feels that we are straight heading into that direction. Just a simple look around can tell us that the society of today is on the edge. It feels like people are emotionally disconnected in the modern world. And we can consider that this song was maybe one of the first mainstream pop songs about school shootings. And that's why I thought it would be worthwhile including. The singer later stated he regretted the fame he brought to the case, even indirectly. But just ask yourself, what was so terribly wrong in that girl's life that she decided to do something like that? It's horrifying to know that somebody you love will go to a school and maybe never come back.
She was hallucinating after a week of drinking whiskey and taking the powerful drug PCP, a drug she says she bought at school. What does she remember about that morning?
Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. I remember the rifle because I had gotten that a month previous.
As a Christmas present?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was for Christmas.
From your father?
Mm-hmm.
Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton is considered one of the most legendary guitarists in rock history. He played with bands like the Yardbirds, Cream, and Derek and the Dominions, before launching a very successful solo career. He helped define blues rock, and his playing is often praised for its emotional intensity. But despite his fame, wealth and legacy, Clapton faced one of the most devastating things that can happen in your life as a parent. And he turned this grief into a song that millions would hear and feel his pain. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? Cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. There is no easy way of telling this part of the story, so let's just cut to the chase. On March 20, 1991, Clapton's 4-year-old son, Connor, fell to his death from a 53-floored New York City apartment. He had been playing in his apartment, which was owned by his mother's friend, and the janitor has just cleaned a large window and left it open to air out the room. Connor ran ahead of his nanny and accidentally fell out the window. It was a horrifying accident that happened that day. Clapton went into isolation after this tragedy. For months, he didn't feel to play any music, but when he returned to the studio, he began writing something raw and he stripped down. No distortions, no rock riffs, acoustic guitar and his soft and painful vocals. I'll find my way through the night and day, cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. The song won 3 Grammy Awards for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, Song of the Year and the Record of the Year in 2004. Rolling Stone ranked Tears in Heaven as the 353rd on its list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. King Part by La Dispute. King Part is a very emotional rollercoaster of a song. It's the most devastating track by La Dispute featured on their 2011 album Wildlife. It's a entire record about grief, tragedy and trauma. La Dispute is a post-hardcore emo band from Grand Rapids, Michigan, known for their poetic, dramatic storytelling and emotional raw performances. King Park starts with clean guitars and it eventually evolves into distorted guitars. And it tells you the story of what happened in a park in Michigan, a bus stop by Fuller and Franklin, or the near there, not far from the park, about a block from where the other shooting was last month. On September 26, 2008, a drive-by shooting near Martin Luther King Park resulted in the death of a 16-year-old David Witherspoon. The intent was a target of a rival gang member, but the gunfire struck David, an innocent bystander with no gang affiliations. That's why the music builds gradually, layer by layer as the story is told. The guitars become more distorted and chaotic as the emotional intensity increases. 3 days later, they made funeral plans. The family. 3 days later, a mother had to bury her son. Not far away, the shooter holed up in a hotel near the highway with a friend and a gun. But the end of the song is haunting as the singer breaks down and starts to scream. Can I still get in? Or will they send me to hell? Can I still get into heaven if I kill myself? I left the hotel behind. Don't know how it ends. The shooter, 20-year-old 𝙀𝙘𝙚 𝙗𝙚, fled the scene and, after a standoff with the police at a local hotel 4 days later, died by taking his own life. This part was taken after it was revealed he called his family and friends and felt remorse for the thing he has done and wondered if there is a way to get in heaven anyway. The whole song is constructed like a story, but in a very vivid manner. It's about violence and tells us the story of a young boy whose life ended without any proper reason. He was just at the wrong time in the wrong place. Invalid Litter Department by At a Drive-In. At a Drive-In dives into a very interesting rabbit hole. Their track, Invalid Litter Department, tries to shine a light on an issue that continues to haunt Mexico. Released in 2001 as their third single for the album Relationship of Command, the song tackles a reality far more disturbing than that most of the listeners realize. It stands out for its haunting narrative and social commentary. Musically, it's somewhat different from the band's typical high-energy sound. The track features subtle but almost hypnotic rhythm. The song addresses the harrowing issues of 𝙀𝙘𝙥𝙚 femicides, a series of SA and executions of women in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. These poor women that worked in those factories fell victim to very gruesome crimes that were often ignored by the police authorities. Hailing from El Paso, Texas, were deeply affected by these events and used this song to shed light on the atrocities and criticize the law enforcement, particularly the Mexican Federal Police. Dancing on the corpse's ashes, they'll be here tomorrow with their feet in the air. They laid out the clues like the pawns on a chessboard. The lyrics aren't so direct, they hit quite hard. It's a gut-wrenching song that paints a picture of a whole society who is profiting of these poor, overworked women. These victims are left behind in this capitalistic trap empowered by corruption. They work until their last breath and later just buried while their ashes are scattered in the desert to be forgotten. This is a grotesque thing to imagine. It's when corruption and greed takes over moral standpoints and people are used like dolls. They are just mere objects that can be replaced anytime. They stated how they were furious with federals and other powers for their failure to act, and this song was just a way to let the world know what is happening. Brenda's Got a Baby by Tupac. Some consider Tupac so much more than a rapper. He was a poet, a revolutionary, but also one of the most important voices in hip-hop history. Born in 1971 and raised by a single mother who was part of the Black Panther Party, Tupac grew up around politics, struggle and resistance. His early life was marked by poverty, violence and institutional racism, but also art and poverty. That's what made his music so unique. His whole catalog is filled with interesting songs, but the one I chose for today's video is Brenda's Got a Baby. The song was released as a promotional CD single for his 1991 𝙀𝙭𝙥𝙚 Now. After listening Brenda's Got a Baby, it doesn't sound like a typical rap song. It's slow, mournful, almost has a jazzy R&B sadness to it, and Tupac doesn't sugarcoat it. Her boyfriend was her cousin. Now let's watch the joy end. She tried to hide her pregnancy from the family, who didn't really care to see or give a damn if she went out and had a church of kids, as long as when the check came, they got first dibs. It's direct in every way, but the song would basically escalate with every verse going on, and it just spirals down so hard. But no one seems to notice any change in her figure. She was 12 years old and she's having a baby. She had it on the bathroom floor. And nobody knows, so she didn't know what to throw away and what to keep. She wrapped the baby up and threw him in a trash heap. I guess she thought she'd get away, wouldn't hear the cries. She didn't realize how much the little boy had her eyes. Tupac with this song manages to set us in a reality we live today. He doesn't try to hide behind metaphors or subliminal messages when he's telling this story. It's a straightforward and a haunting account of a 12-year-old girl impregnated by her cousin, abandoned and completely failed by every system that was supposed to protect her, family, school and society. That's why this song earned a spot on this iceberg, because it's not just disturbing, it's very true, one that keeps happening all over the world, and one that many people still not paying attention to. Tupac once said, "I'm not saying I'm gonna change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world."
You know, I want when they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world.
𝙄𝙘𝙚𝙗𝙚𝙧𝙗 live stream. So layer 6 starts with a song that doesn't hide behind any metaphors. The song itself is upbeat, filled with catchy melodies, yet inspired with dark and unsettling lyrics. That contrast is a trademark of 𝙀𝙭𝙚𝙧𝙦, a Japanese rock band formed in 2007 in Chiba. They would describe themselves as an internet pop rock band, blending pop sounds with pianos and disturbing lyrical themes and chaotic punk energy. The song we are covering right now is inspired by a real-life tragedy and aims to critique the internet's desensitization towards mental health. It sparked major discussions around the ethics of portraying sensitive events through music. Since the song is in Japanese, I would put the lyrics into a translator, and this is what I got. On my way home without friends, the sunset is sometimes kind amidst the data flying around. The city's Bluetooth destroyed me. So this haunting piece of music refers to a live streamer who was a 14-year-old girl called Roro-chan. While she was broadcasting live, she would usually play the piano and sing. Her streams were very simple, some would say raw, others would say emotional, but they were often overlooked by many people. And the only thing she wanted was to become a star, but sadly this didn't work out. And then one night in 2013, she went live from a balcony of a 13th-story building. She told the viewers she was going to jump, and the comments were absolutely disgusting. People would comment like, "Go ahead, jump already, come on." The story might have faded into obscurity, but the case resurfaced years later after this song went viral on TikTok. But sadly, many still miss just how morbid this whole situation really was. Roro-chan became a star, but at what cost? But there is a lot more to this case, and I promise you we will get back to it one day. I promise. Suffer Little Children by The Smiths. More, Take Me to the Moor, Dig a Shallow Grave, and I Lay Me Down. After first listening Suffer Little Children, it felt gentle. It's a very slow and minimal track, almost like with a dreamy tone to it. There were no screaming, no harsh guitars, just a simple song. But when you know upon which case was the song built, this whole entry feels diabolical. Leslie Ann and Your Pretty White Beads, Oh John, You Never Be a Man, and You'll Never See Your Home Again. Oh Manchester, so much to answer for. Edward, See Those Alluring Lights? If you didn't know, this song was made by a band called The Smiths in 1984, and they were an upcoming band from Manchester. The song's name, Suffer Little Children, is already haunting enough, and it's a direct quote from the Bible, Suffer little children to come unto me, which is usually read as a message of comfort, but correct me if I'm wrong here. And this song is a tribute to one of the most horrifying cases in the whole UK. The song is structured about the Morse case. Between 1963 and 1965, a couple named Ian Brady and Mira Hindley abducted, S8 and executed 5 children in and around Manchester. They lured them with fake stories and offering a ride home, or just wanted to give them some toys. And then they would proceed to take them to remote pieces of the land. And I don't need to explain you what happened next to those poor children because I don't feel like going into the details. But what I can say is that they would often record their executions so they could later listen to them, because those tapes would then give some type of pleasure. So yes, these recordings would feature their screams and begging for help. And we know that at least of 3 of them were buried in shallow graves across the Saddleworth Moor, and the youngest of the victims was just 10 years old. This case not only shocked Manchester but the whole UK. And basically overnight they became a symbol of evil. The song, understandably, caused a wave of controversy. Many people in the press and in the public accused the Smiths of exploitation, saying it was tasteless to sing about such a recent and traumatic event, and some thought they just wanted to be edgy. Nevertheless, behind this slow and hauntingly calm song lies a story that haunted England for decades to come. I'll haunt you when you laugh, you might sleep, but you will never dream. 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗 entire project. 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗 is featured here because of a very specific reason. For this entry I broke the rules a little bit, I didn't include a proper song but a whole album. But there is a good reason behind it, because it grosses me out. 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗 was created by 𝘾𝙝𝙗𝙚𝙗𝙗, a Finnish artist best known for his work in the power electrics and noise music. We could say that his figure is drenched into controversy, often accused of pushing themes far beyond what most people consider acceptable. 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗 was born in 1998 as one of his side projects, and it quickly became one of the most disturbing and morally challenging albums in the whole genre. If the name 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗𝙗 isn't enough to crawl under your skin, I need to elaborate that the whole project is about power dynamics, predatory behavior and basically exploitation. But it gets much worse if we are looking at the album called Playground. The whole album is so direct and abstract, it's very hard to explain. You won't find any choruses or catchy riffs. What you will hear instead are manipulated voices, warped samples and cold electronic tones. Eerie childlike sounds would fade in and fade out. Often there are also placed some snippets of dialogue that sound like they were ripped from a predator's inner monologue. And it's all bleeding together and it's very hard to get a grasp on what's really going on. And about the project itself, my regret is definitely very high. There is no way around it. This entry isn't just disturbing, it's one of the most intense, morally confronting pieces of music ever made. Whether you consider this some type of critic, provocation, or something much more sinister, 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗𝙗 simply forces you to ask, why would somebody make this? And who the hell are the people who would listen to this track? And I'm sorry, because this isn't making any sense to me. Also, this form of art is on YouTube, and I wanted to listen to it once again before giving it a proper rundown, and I found this comment. And now I just want to publicly apologize to you guys and girls who decided actually to look up this song. I'm so sorry, I don't know what to say else. Because I'm completely disgusted by this project. Let's move on. A Life Eternal by 𝘾𝙗𝙗. So just to set the tone right for this entry, we need to talk about a bit of black metal history. Because early Norwegian black metal was much more than simple music. We could say it was almost a movement. The production was intentionally bad, the uglier the better, some would say. But it wasn't just about sound, it was rejection of modern society and also religion, especially Christianity. And one band that would often come to mind when talking about black metal is 𝘾𝙗𝙗. 𝘾𝙗𝙗 is one of the most infamous bands in black metal history. Formed in 1984 in Norway, they're often credited as the pioneers of the second wave of black metal, a movement defined not just by how raw it was, but also their aggressive sound, and also including things like church burning and real life death that surrounded the band. They were not just playing their music, they were basically living it. I don't want to pronounce this name, but he was better known by his stage name called Dead. He was a Swedish vocalist for the band 𝘾𝙗𝙗 from 1988 until his death in 1991. And he wasn't called Dead for nothing. Dead was obsessed with death. He'd bury his clothes before shows to give them a decaying smell, and even carried around dead crows to inhale the scent of death before going live. His mental state was also fragile, and he severely struggled with depression. Tragically, in April 1991, Dead committed suicide in his house that the band shared. He shot himself in the head with a shotgun after his wrist and throat. He was later discovered by his bandmate 𝙀𝙗𝙚𝙗𝙗, who took pictures of his body, which would later end up on a bootleg album that was later released to the public. The album was called Dawn of the Black Hearts, so with that said, let's see one song that was written by Dead. It feels like a final letter from somebody ready to pass on. It's one of 𝘾𝙗𝙗's most haunting and sorrowful songs, not in terms of melody, but in what it represents. A dream of another existence. You wish to die. A dream of another world. You pray for death to release the soul. One must die to find peace inside. You must go internal. The vocals on the album were actually recorded by Attila of Torment, but the lyrics to Life Eternal were written by Dead himself, allegedly on the day he ended his life. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. However, the lyrics are definitely bleak, some would say poetic, describing the afterlife and the sensation of dying and letting go of the physical body. Am I immortal? But I am a human. How beautiful life is now when my time has come. A human destiny, but nothing human inside. What will be left of me when I'm dead? There was nothing when I lived. What you found was eternal death. No one will ever miss you. The whole song gives a very suffocating vibe. And it's shrouded in nihilism, darkness, and even blood. And I hope I gave you a good understanding of why this song needed to be on the list.
But he was also that on a regular daily basis. He slept with dead birds under his bed because he wanted to smell death. And it was an image. He was depressed. He was looking for death.
44 Days by Mr. 𝙀𝙚𝙚𝙗𝙚. This is one of the songs that could easily trap you into dancing, because it sounds so catchy and upbeat. It's a synthwave track with eerie electronic tunes and ghostly vocals. And let me know if you added this song to your playlist after this entry. But I hate diving to the story behind this song because it almost broke me the last time I covered this case. This case was featured on my iceberg chart about the things you should never Google for. So let's find what is this song about. I was alone on my way home. My footsteps slow, someone walks close behind me. I lose my breath by hands of death. This body's fallen lifeless. This song is a tribute to a 17-year-old Japanese high school girl who was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered in 1987. So this song is about Junko Furuta. And this case became one of the most brutal cases in modern history, nicknamed the Concrete Encased High School Girl Murder. Mr. 𝙀𝙀𝙚𝙗𝙚 is known for making emotionally raw, synth-driven music, and he used this track to mourn Junko's story. Carry me through somewhere new. Why am I here? I don't know these people. I am calling home. Let it be known, I am with a friend, I'm not in any danger. These lyrics feel like a gut punch. Junko Furuta was held captive for 44 days, and the things that were done to her during these 44 days are ungodly. She was described as a bright, well-liked high school student in Japan, completely ordinary. She wasn't involved in any shady activities, she was a model student, but on November 25, 1988, her life was abruptly stolen from her, because there is no other way to say it. While walking home from a school, she was approached by a group of teenage boys with known connections to the Yakuza, who abducted her. Like I said, the things that were done to her were beyond gruesome, and I didn't think that there are people out there who are capable of doing such things to another human being. I'm currently like 4 or 5 years on YouTube and I covered many disturbing stories, and I don't remember stumbling upon a case that was this disturbing. You know how YouTube censorship works. Now, I will only name the items and I'll let your imagination fill the blanks. So, hammers, iron bars, cigarettes, lighters, hot wax, fireworks, a freezer, 100 men, including minors, and her girlfriends. So yes, the girlfriends of Junko were also there. Why? Well, they were just there to make fun of her and watch the things other people would do to her. Junko was completely destroyed, mentally and physically. Basically, her whole body shut down. At the end, she basically begged them to end it all. 44 days I have been held there. I will never see the light of day. Please save me from the reckless, violent hearts. Bodies rest in graves of cold concrete. The boys who did this at the time were minors, so their identities were protected by the law. Most of them served less than 10 years in prison, so they have already been free for years now. This light sentence led to a massive public outcry. Junko's parents were devastated. her mother reportedly had a mental breakdown after hearing the autopsy details. In a horrific twist, one of the boys' mothers even vandalized Jungkook's grave, blaming her for ruining her son's life. This song comes with kind intentions, and it gives a voice to someone who had their taken away. Unlike songs that are shocking for the sake of it, 44 Days sits in sorrow and confronts you with the reality of poor Jungkook. Limousine, brand new.
What we choose to do on this earth, sometimes life just has other plans, and understanding why can be difficult. Now, this is one of those stories.
Limousine by Brand New is a very devastating song, and there is no other way around it. Brand New is an American rock band that originated in Long Island, New York in 2000, and they decided to make a song about a very tragic event. From their album called The Devil and the God Are Raging Inside Me from 2006 is an album already known for its dark themes, exploring grief and guilt, and some spiritual conflicts. But Limousine is on another level. Kate, it's your ride. Get your pellets out and lay them in the aisle. Pretend you're God and grow, and it's your day to wed. We found your man, he's drinking up, he's all American, and he'll drive, he volunteered with grace to end your life. Limousine is inspired by a real-life tragedy of Katie Flynn, a 7-year-old girl who was killed by a drunk driver on July 2, 2005. Her family was leaving a wedding on Long Island in a stretch limousine when a drunk driver was driving the wrong way on the highway and collided head-on with their vehicle. From that very start, Limousine sets a somber, eerie tone. The sound itself has some reverb effects, layered with slow droning guitars and soft drums. The crash itself was so violent that Katie was decapitated in that instant, and her mother, in shock, held her head until the help arrived 1 hour later. Martin, the driver, was convicted of second-degree and sentenced to 18 years of prison. The story that shocked the entire nation. The signal interrupts. My baby's frequency's not strong enough. Remain in my hands and smile. We will miss you, but in the time you'll get set up and we will write, hey beauty supreme, yeah, you were right about me. And the singer is really letting his emotions out, just showing how much this case had an impact on him. It's just a depressing song about how a young life was cut short in a very gruesome way, and how the family and friends were there to witness all of that.
He drove straight into us, and I could hear my wife screaming.
I was looking on the floor for Kate to make sure that she was okay. Her head had been torn from her body.
Every time you get behind the wheel drunk, you put all of us at risk. Could you live with yourself if you...
JPEG Mafia. The song, at least for me, stands as one of the most intense music pieces out there. But after hearing, you will probably agree with me. JPEG's track, I Just a Cop and Now I'm Horny, is easily one of the most uncomfortable and controversial songs I've listened to in a long time. JPEG Mafia is an experimental hip-hop artist and producer from Brooklyn, known for blending noise, punk and rap into something uniquely his own. His music is politically charged, confrontational, and often chaotic, featuring distorted and aggressive beats and raw lyrics. He's praised for constantly pushing the boundaries of hip-hop, trying to get away from traditional norms. This opens up with a real dashcam audio from one of the most disturbing police attacks ever caught on tape, the 1998 killing Deputy Kyle Dinkheller in Lawrence County, Georgia. Deputy Kyle was a 20-year-old cop. He was recently married and had a child. One afternoon, he would do something that is very routine. He would just pull up a random car. But little did he know that in the car was a veteran called Andrew Brennan, and he was pulled for a certain reason. He was speeding. But what the deputy didn't know was that Andrew was suffering from severe PTSD. What began as a routine thing a cop would do evolved into something much more darker. Brennan got out of his vehicle and began taunting the young officer, screaming at him, daring him to shoot. Then Brennan walked back to his truck and pulled out a M1 carabine rifle and opened fire. He fired 13 times, 9 bullets hit the deputy, who died there on the roadside screaming, and this whole incident from the beginning to the end was captured on his dash cam. 𝙀𝙭 Mafia didn't just reference this incident as many artists on this iceberg did, he sampled the actual audio. You will hear the deputy's final moments, his real screams and last breaths he taken. And that's what makes this track so unsettling. Some argue it's a critique of violence, of power and of American failures. Others say it's a line that should never have been crossed. Was 𝙀𝙭 Mafia being provocative, political or seriously controversial, or maybe it was just exploitation in the name of shock value? Oh my god, the pig wanna take my life. 26, no job, and now they are going to take my license. I'm a failure. The instrumental is chaotic as the message. It's noisy and loaded with glitchy distortions. So I ask you again, do you think a song like this is truly disturbing? Where the screams and last breaths of a man was sampled and turned into a song? But let me know about this, because I don't know what to say about it. And then she bled, as silence. Like the last song, this is also inspired by a real event. But this song doesn't feature any vocals or lyrics or metaphors. This is just a song or instrumental track built around a 911 call. And Then She Bled is the 7th track from the As Silent second album No Time to Bleed. It's more like an audio descent into horror, but the band uses low-tuned distorted guitars, ambient noises and eerie effects. And most important, like I said, it's structured around a real 911 call to create an atmosphere which is very unique. The song would feature terrified voices of Sandra Harold calling 911 while her pet chimp Travis viciously attacked her friend Carla Nash. While Sandra was talking to the police, Trevor ripped off her face and hands, brutally mauling her. And this is one of the most shocking animal attacks ever recorded. Is this disturbing more than the last entry? I wouldn't say it is, but every entry in the last layer is a bit unique, and it's really hard to tell which is more disturbing than the other. But this entry we covered right now barely scratched the surface of this case. And I made a fully 30-minute video only about this case, where I dive into the story of Travis the chimp, the chilling 911 call, and how poor Carla looked after the attack and the whole aftermath. And before you click off, I just wanna say thank you for watching. This means more than you think, as this was like a 4-week project and I think I lost my sanity because of this video. And I wanted to try something new with the camera perspective, and I hope you appreciate that. Also, a huge thanks to my Patreon, and if you want to get the videos early, uncensored videos and also thumbnails and other stuff, you can join my Patreon. It's only $1 per month. So that's all from me now. Thank you for watching. I've been 𝙀𝙗, and until the next deep dive, please stay curious. Bye.